It was close to 12:30 a.m. when I left my friend's place. We'd spent the evening catching up, losing track of time like we always did, and by the time I got into my car, the streets were almost completely empty. I live in a small town, and late at night there's only one real option to get home quickly: County Road 16. It's a narrow, two-lane strip of asphalt that cuts through miles of dense pine forest. The kind of road that feels fine in daylight, but takes on a completely different personality at night. There aren't many houses along that route, just endless trees and occasional breaks where dirt paths lead deeper into the woods. Halfway down, tucked back from the road, is Hollow Creek Cemetery. It's a tiny place, old, neglected, with rusting gates and headstones that lean like they're trying to escape the earth. I'd driven past it countless times during the day without thinking twice. But at night, it was different. That night, the road felt especially deserted. My headlights carved a narrow tunnel through the darkness, catching glimpses of mist beginning to gather near the tree line. It wasn't heavy, just enough to make the edges of the forest look blurry, like shadows shifting in my peripheral vision. The radio in my car buzzed with static now and then, cutting in and out of a late-night playlist. I adjusted the dial a few times, but the static stayed. I remember thinking how strange the air felt, heavy in a way I couldn't explain. It was the kind of quiet that makes you realize just how alone you are out there. No cars in front of me, none behind. Just the hum of the engine and the road stretching endlessly ahead. And that's when I noticed something faint up ahead, a pale shape standing just at the edge of my headlight's reach. As my car rolled forward, the shape became clearer. At first, I thought it was just a road sign or maybe an abandoned post, catching the beam of my headlights. But as I got closer, the outline sharpened. It wasn't metal. It wasn't wood. It was a person. I instinctively eased off the gas, my eyes locked on the figure ahead. The pale shape slowly resolved into the form of a girl, standing at the side of the road, facing the forest. She wasn't moving. Her white dress hung loosely to her knees, and her long, dark hair draped over her shoulders, nearly blending into the shadows behind her. My first thought was that maybe she'd been in some kind of accident, or that her car had broken down nearby. I glanced at my mirrors, expecting to see taillights in the distance, but there was nothing. Just the stretch of black road fading into the woods. I slowed more, unsure whether to stop. She didn't seem to notice me, didn't wave, didn't turn her head. She just stood there. As I approached, I realized she was standing almost directly across from the cemetery gates. My stomach tightened. I could see the rusted iron fence just beyond the tree line, the crooked headstones half hidden in the fog. I rolled my window down a few inches, the cool night air slipping in. "Hey, are you okay?" My voice sounded strange, too loud against the stillness of the forest. No response. The girl's head tilted slightly, not toward me, but toward the cemetery, as if she were listening to something I couldn't hear. A faint, inexplicable chill crept across my skin. I kept my foot light on the gas, the hum of the engine suddenly sounding louder in my ears. Every instinct in me screamed not to stop. As my car rolled closer, the girl didn't turn, didn't react. Her face was still angled slightly toward the cemetery. The white dress she wore seemed strangely out of place, not just because of the season, but because it wasn't the kind of dress you'd expect to see anyone wearing out here. It looked dated. The fog along the shoulder of the road thickened just as I passed her, my headlights casting her shadow long into the trees. I couldn't help it. I glanced at her face for the briefest moment. Her skin was pale, almost too pale in the cold glow of my headlights. I couldn't read her expression, but there was something about the stillness of her features that made my chest tighten. I didn't stop. I just kept the wheels straight and the car moving. But I made the mistake of checking my side mirror. She was still there. Only now, she wasn't facing the forest. She was turned toward the road, toward me. The sight jolted through me like ice water. I snapped my eyes back to the road, gripping the steering wheel tighter than I realized. For the next half mile, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. I caught myself glancing in the rearview mirror again and again, even though I knew I wouldn't see her. And I didn't. But the road behind me looked darker than it should have. The further I drove, the heavier the air seemed to get. It wasn't just my imagination. Even inside the car, the atmosphere felt thick, like the air itself didn't want to be breathed. The fog clung closer to the road now, swallowing the edges of the forest in pale streaks. My high beams barely cut through it, each curve of the road revealing nothing but more empty blacktop and endless trees. I reached for the radio, hoping some music would calm my nerves. The static was worse now, a low, constant hiss broken by sharp bursts, almost like faint voices buried somewhere in the noise. I adjusted the dial, but no matter what station I tried, the sound didn't clear. I left it on anyway, just for the comfort of some kind of noise, but it didn't help. Every so often I glanced at my rearview mirror, half expecting to see headlights or, worse, something else on the road behind me. But there was nothing. Just the faint outline of fog swirling in the red glow of my tail lights. I tried to reason with myself. She was just a person. A strange person, sure, but maybe she lived nearby. Maybe she'd been walking home. Maybe someone was waiting for her. But every explanation felt hollow. There hadn't been a single car parked anywhere near her. No houses. No sound of footsteps in the gravel as I passed. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, my eyes scanning the trees that rushed past on either side. The forest felt closer now, as if the shadows themselves were leaning in toward the road. The turnoff to Hollow Creek Cemetery slipped out of sight behind me, but I couldn't shake the thought of her standing there, that pale dress, her head turning just as I passed, like she'd known I would look. By the time I reached the outskirts of town, the fog had thinned, and the air felt a little lighter. Streetlights appeared ahead, their warm yellow glow a welcome change from the cold blue-white of my headlights in the woods. Still, I didn't slow down until I was well past my own driveway, almost without realizing it, as if some part of me wanted to be absolutely certain nothing had followed me home. The next day, I tried to push the drive out of my mind. I told myself it had been a long night, that the fog, the silence, and my own tired brain had made the whole thing feel stranger than it really was. But the image of that girl wouldn't leave me. By evening, I ended up grabbing a coffee with a friend of mine, Dave. He's one of those people who's lived in this town his whole life and knows pretty much everyone and everything that goes on. We were sitting outside a small diner when I mentioned casually that I'd taken County Road 16 home the night before. Dave's expression changed almost instantly. "You took 16 at night?" I shrugged, suddenly feeling uneasy. "Yeah." "Why?" He leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. "You didn't see anything weird, did you?" I hesitated, my fingers tightening around my coffee cup. "Define weird." He gave me a strange look, then sighed. "There was a girl, about 20 years old, went missing about a month ago. They found her body in the woods, right off 16, near Hollow Creek Cemetery. She was buried a few days ago." My stomach twisted. Dave went on, lowering his voice slightly. "People said she'd been seen walking along the road late at night. Some of the truckers refused to take that route after dark. I thought it was just rumors, until they found her." I felt a cold weight settle in my chest. "What was she wearing?" Dave looked at me for a moment, almost like he could sense where my question was going. "White dress. Why?" I didn't answer right away. I just stared down at the table, my pulse thudding in my ears. That dress, that hair, that stillness by the cemetery gate. I realized I hadn't just driven past some random girl. I'd driven past someone who wasn't supposed to be there at all,